Adam groaned awake, his senses flooded by a symphony of alien light and sound. The chamber surrounding him pulsed like a living heart, rhythmic waves of amethyst and sapphire racing along walls that gleamed with a metallic sheen. The surface beneath him, smooth and translucent, hummed gently, as if in welcome or warning. Adam's head throbbed with confusion, his pulse an erratic beat in his throat. He sat up slowly, his body heavy from the crash. The last thing he remembered was the sudden, stomach-lurching tug of an uncharted gravitational field that had yanked his Earth Federation ship out of its path. The memories, splintered alarms blaring, a scramble to stabilize his craft, and then darkness. Now, the sterile and familiar glow of his control panel was gone, replaced by this otherworldly luminescence. Adam clenched his jaw and took stock of his surroundings. The air was breathable but carried a peculiar scent, sharp and floral, with a hint of ozone, like a storm about to break. The walls, shifting with an almost hypnotic glow, were free of seams or doors. Panic sparked at the edges of his mind. Was he a prisoner? Before he could think further, a section of the wall began to ripple, as if disturbed water were solidifying into form. His heart pounded, and he scrambled backward, his breath caught between awe and fear. The shapes became two figures, stepping out of the wall, as if it had birthed them from light itself. They were beautiful, eerily so. Two alien women, identical yet impossibly different, with skin that shimmered deep purple, like twilight ink kissed by starlight. Their hair cascaded down their backs in shimmering waves, undulating as if moved by a cosmic breeze. Each strand sparkled with the rich, iridescent hues of nebulas Adam had only ever admired through his ship's view screens. Their eyes silver pools that seemed to house entire galaxies locked onto him with an unsettling intensity. The one on the left moved first, stepping forward with a hesitant grace. Her features were elegant, but a certain softness framed her glowing gaze. "I am Nara," she said, her voice soft yet resonant, like a lullaby be drifting through space. The sound wasn't just heard, it resonated in his chest, gentle yet undeniable. Adam found himself blinking, unsure if he was under some kind of spell. He tried to respond, but the second sister advanced with a boldness that made his skin prickle. This one, sharper, fiercer, tilted her head and looked him over, as if assessing a curious artifact. Her lips curled into a knowing smile. "And I am Kiva," she purred, her tone low, almost taunting. "Welcome, human, to our domain. You've arrived in time for our courtship season." Adam stiffened, feeling both the weight of their attention and the peculiar words hanging in the air. "Courtship season," he echoed, his voice cracking as he fought to steady himself. What in the cosmos did that mean? Nara took another step closer, her hand drifting up as if she wanted to touch his face but hesitated. "You have been chosen," she explained, eyes shimmering with something unreadable, "by the ship, by this chamber. Our courtship season is sacred, a ritual of bonds that shape our energy and fate." Adam shook his head, bewildered. The entire situation felt like a fever dream, bizarre yet vivid. The chamber's pulse matched his own heart rate, a strange harmony he couldn't ignore. I didn't ask to be here," he said, voice taut with tension. "This has to be a mistake." Kiva's laugh cut through the air, bright and sharp. "The chamber doesn't make mistakes," she countered, circling him like a predator sizing up its prey. "It seeks connections that matter, even if you don't understand it yet." Her gaze lingered on him, bold and unyielding, and a shiver snaked down Adam's spine. He tried to take a step back, but the surface beneath him seemed to tug at his boots, almost as if the room itself wanted him to stay. Adam clenched his fists, his mind racing. He couldn't let them overwhelm him, even if their beauty and presence made it hard to think straight. "What is this?" "Ritual involve," he demanded, forcing the words out. "And what happens if I refuse?" Nara's expression turned mournful, the light in her eyes dimming. "You may not refuse," she said gently, though the edge of sorrow made it sting. "The ship won't release us until the courtship's energy is balanced." Kiva leaned in, her smirk softening as she locked eyes with Adam. "Consider it fate," she whispered. "You, a human voyager, and us, twin beings seeking what only your kind can offer, a clash of the known and the unknown." Her voice dripped with intrigue, the promise of something thrilling yet terrifying. Adam swallowed hard. Despite the swirl of confusion, something about their words stirred a primal magnetic draw inside him. The ship, this chamber, it wasn't just a trap, it was an entity, a presence with intentions. He felt the energy encasing his senses, coaxing and compelling, urging him to abandon caution. Kiva placed a hand on his chest, her touch searing through the thin fabric of his suit. The warmth spread, a slow burn that made his skin tingle. "Will you dance with destiny, Adam?" she murmured, her lips curving in a challenge. But before Adam could muster a response, Nara interceded, pulling Kiva back with a gentle yet firm hand. "We must tread carefully," she said, her voice laced with a tenderness that contrasted her sister's brazenness. "He is unaccustomed to our ways." Adam's heart thumped erratically. They were an enigma, a dangerous blend of allure and power. His instincts screamed at him to retreat, yet he couldn't deny the pull. The chamber's pulse quickened, and he realized, with a sinking feeling, that his fate was no longer his own. He took a shaky breath, staring into the luminous eyes of these alien women who held his future in their hands. "All right," he whispered, his voice barely steady. "Tell me what comes next." The chamber brightened, its pulse synchronizing with the trio's thundering heartbeats. Adam knew, deep down, that whatever ritual awaited would be unlike anything he had ever faced, and that survival meant more than just escaping unscathed. It meant embracing the unknown. Adam stood in the center of the chamber, its pulse an ever-present reminder of his captivity. His head spun, not only from the strangeness of his surroundings, but from the twins who now flanked him. Nara and Kiva, with their dusky amethyst skin glistening under the chamber's light, seemed both angelic and perilous. He'd been stranded in hostile environments before, but this being trapped in a ritual he didn't understand was more disarming than any enemy encounter. Nara, ever the calm presence, reached out. Her hand, cool and delicate, brushed his wrist. "Breathe," she whispered, her voice a ripple of tranquility. "The energy between us must harmonize, or we risk being consumed." "Consumed," Adam echoed, his muscles tensing. The room seemed to hear his anxiety, vibrating faster, hungrier. "What do you mean?" Kiva rolled her silver eyes, stepping forward with more impatience than grace. "She means," she said, her words a teasing bite, "that this chamber isn't passive. It feeds on our emotional tension. If we don't synchronize, it could, well, let's say things might unravel unpleasantly." A cold dread crept up Adam's spine, though he fought to keep his expression neutral. "You're saying this place is alive?" he asked, his voice tight. Nara met his gaze, sorrow darkening her shimmering eyes. "Alive in a way," she replied. "It's a force we Xenorians have learned to respect, but never fully control." Her grip on his wrist firmed, as if anchoring him. "But it can also be beautiful, Adam. If we trust one another, it can transform and uplift us." Trust. The word felt heavy, even absurd, given the circumstances. Adam barely knew these beings, these alien women whose beauty only heightened the danger of the unknown. Yet, something about Nara's sincerity and Kiva's brazen confidence sparked an unexpected curiosity in him. "What exactly does this ritual require?" he asked, his voice more resolute. Kiva's lips curved into a wolfish grin. "Bravery," she said, her gaze drifted down his body, as if assessing his readiness. "And openness. Xenorian courtship isn't just physical, it's a complete exchange, a sharing of energy, breath, and other things." Adam felt his cheeks burn, a reaction he hadn't anticipated. "Other things," he muttered. Kiva leaned in, her lips near his ear. "Desire," she whispered, the words slipping from her mouth like forbidden honey. The chamber responded instantly, its walls flaring with light that seemed to sear into Adam's very nerves. Nara shot her sister a glare. "You're scaring him," she chided, though her own voice trembled, betraying a hint of her own anticipation. She stepped closer, her body just a whisper away from Adam's. "This isn't about conquest," she added softly. "It's about balance." Adam's heart hammered as he tried to absorb the gravity of what lay ahead. Their bodies, so alien and mesmerizing, radiated warmth and promise, but there was a fragility in Nara's voice that struck a chord in him. This wasn't a game to them, it was survival. Taking a breath, Adam nodded. "All right," he said, his voice low but steady. "Show me how this works." The chamber shivered, its light rippling in anticipation. Nara exhaled, her relief palpable. She raised a hand and placed it over his chest, right above his heart. Her touch was feather-light, and yet it made his blood thrum. "Close your eyes," she instructed. He did, reluctantly, and immediately became aware of his other senses. The scent of ozone mingled with something floral, almost intoxicating. The energy coursing from Nara's palm seeped into his skin, moving in slow, deliberate waves. It wasn't just warmth, it was a soothing, palpable presence, easing the tension in his muscles and coaxing his heart to slow its frantic rhythm. "Feel that," she murmured. "That's my energy, seeking yours. It's delicate, fragile. We have to be gentle." Adam nodded, but before he could fully respond, Kiva's fingers slid along his neck, contrasting with Nara's tenderness. Her touch crackled with intensity, a searing heat that made Adam's breath catch. Where Nara's energy was a soft caress, Kiva's was wildfire, demanding and ravenous. Kiva chuckled, the sound low and wicked. "You're holding back," she teased. "Don't fight it. Let us in." A tremor ran through Adam as he tried to adjust to the dual sensations. Nara's touch kept him grounded, while Kiva's ignited something primal within him. The chamber's pulse matched the erratic rhythm of his heart, intensifying with every passing second. Adam finally exhaled, letting himself sink into their presence. He surrendered to the waves of energy coursing between them, his own heartbeat aligning with the pulsing light of the chamber. The air around them thickened, a palpable charge that danced over his skin. His pulse raced, not from fear anymore, but from something far deeper in attraction, a longing he couldn't deny. Nara sighed, her face so close to his he could feel her breath. "Yes," she murmured, and for the first time, a smile touched her lips. "That's it. You're opening up." Adam didn't have time to savor her praise. Kiva pressed closer, her body flush against his. Her eyes glinted with mischief. "See," she whispered, her breath scorching. Was that so hard? She ran her fingers down his jawline, and Adam's body tensed, not with discomfort, but with an aching need. A surge of heat exploded from where their bodies touched, and suddenly the chamber responded, its light spiraling upward in brilliant arcs. Adam gasped, feeling as if the energy had wrapped itself around his soul, binding him to these two alien beings in ways he couldn't begin to fathom. The world narrowed to the three of them, entangled in a web of alien desire and shared fate. Adam's body felt as if it were vibrating, every nerve attuned to the rhythm of their courtship ritual. He didn't know how much more he could take, but he also knew he didn't want it to end. Just when he thought he might lose himself completely, Nara drew back, her eyes wide with something akin to alarm. The chamber's pulse had grown wild, erratic, and she glanced at her sister, a flash of worry marring her serene features. "Kiva," Nara warned, her voice cracking, "we're pushing him too fast." Kiva's grin faltered, replaced by a hint of guilt. "I got carried away," she admitted, though her eyes still smoldered with untamed passion. She stepped back, breaking the spell. Adam stumbled, his legs weak, but Nara caught him, her hands gentle yet firm. "Are you all right?" she asked, concern knitting her brows. Adam managed a shaky nod, though his entire body buzzed from the encounter. "I'm still here," he said, voice hoarse. He looked at Kiva, who had the decency to appear sheepish. What just happened?" Nara took a deep breath. "Our energies nearly overwhelmed you. We need to be more careful, or we'll destabilize the ritual." Kiva crossed her arms, though her gaze softened. "You surprised me, human," she said, her tone almost tender. "Most can't handle that much intensity." Adam ran a hand through his hair, trying to steady his breathing. Despite the danger, he felt a thread of exhilaration wind through his chest. "I guess I'm full of surprises," he said, a ghost of a smile touching his lips. The chamber, sensing the shift in tension, settled into a slower rhythm, its light calming to a softer glow. Adam knew they had only scratched the surface of the ritual, but for the first time he felt a flicker of hope. If they could learn to balance this energy, maybe, just maybe, they could escape together. But the thought was fleeting, replaced by the awareness that their journey had only begun, and the chamber's hunger for completion loomed like a shadow over them all. The chamber's energy had settled into a simmer, like an ember waiting to ignite. Adam leaned against the iridescent wall, his breath still ragged from the exchange. His skin prickled, every nerve tuned to the presence of the twin alien sisters. Nara watched him with a gentle, worried expression, while Kiva's eyes sparkled with challenge, her hunger barely masked. "You all right, human?" Kiva asked, a hint of amusement threading through her voice. She didn't wait for him to respond, crossing the space between them. Her movements were fluid, deliberate, like a predator toying with its prey. She leaned close, her purple skin catching the light in a way that made her look almost ethereal. "I'd hate to think we broke you too early." Adam pushed himself off the wall, trying to muster a semblance of composure. "I'm fine," he said, though his voice wavered. "But if we're going to survive this, maybe we need to figure out a strategy." Kiva's grin widened. "Strategy," she echoed, savoring the word as if it were a foreign delicacy. "Where's the fun in that?" Nara stepped forward, her hand brushing Kiva's arm, a gentle reprimand. "We need him intact, sister," she said softly. Her eyes met Adam's, sincere and luminous. "We're not used to someone as unique as you." Adam tilted his head, curiosity sparking despite his exhaustion. "Unique how?" Nara hesitated, a blush darkening her violet cheeks. "Your energy," she explained. "It's different, chaotic. It pushes and pulls in ways we've never felt." She bit her lip, and Adam could tell she wasn't used to being so candid. "It makes our ritual unpredictable." Kiva rolled her eyes, though a smirk still tugged at her lips. "Translation, you're exciting," she teased, but there was a note of seriousness beneath her playful exterior. "Unpredictability can be dangerous." Adam ran a hand through his hair, absorbing this new layer of complexity. "So what now?" he asked. "If we can't control the energy, do we just wing it?" Kiva's eyes lit up. "Exactly," she said, but before she could elaborate, the chamber's light flickered. The air thickened, and a low hum thrummed through the floor, growing louder by the second. "What's happening?" Adam demanded, alarmed. Nara stiffened, her face paling. "It's testing us," she whispered. "The chamber must think we're too stagnant. It needs us to act, to engage." Adam cursed under his breath. Of course the room was sentient enough to demand entertainment. Before he could devise a plan, Kiva stepped forward, her eyes narrowing with determination. "Then let's give it what it wants," she declared, grabbing Adam's hand and pulling him toward the center of the chamber. Her touch was searing, her grip a blend of urgency and eagerness. Nara followed, her steps hesitant but resolute. "Wait," Adam said, his heart pounding. "What are we doing?" Kiva shot him a grin over her shoulder. "We're playing a game," she said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. "A dance of energy. If we can't balance it the calm way, we'll try something more intense." Adam's stomach nodded. He wasn't sure he liked the sound of that, but the chamber's pressure made it clear they didn't have much of a choice. Kiva stopped in the center and turned to face him, her silver eyes glinting. Nara positioned herself on his other side, her presence a soothing balm against the storm Kiva seemed ready to conjure. "We'll take turns," Kiva instructed, her voice firm. "You'll feel each of us one at a time, and we'll try to harmonize the energy that way." Her grin turned wicked. "Think you can handle it?" Adam swallowed, but he refused to back down. "Let's do it," he said, determination hardening his voice. Kiva's eyes flared with approval. Without another word, she pressed her palm against his chest, right over his heart. The contact sent a shockwave through his body, her energy fiery and wild, like a solar flare bursting beneath his skin. Adam's vision blurred, and he felt as if he were floating, untethered, his body an instrument strummed by her touch. "Focus," Kiva commanded, her voice an anchor in the storm. "Don't resist, let it flow." Adam clenched his jaw, trying to do as she said. The energy coursed through him, exhilarating and overwhelming, and he struggled to stay upright. Just when he thought he might drown in the sensation, Kiva pulled back, leaving him breathless and swaying. Nara stepped in, her hand replacing Kiva's. Her touch was cool, soothing, like a river washing over scorched earth. The energy shifted, a gentler current that wrapped around Adam and cradled him. His heartbeat steadied, and he let out a shaky breath, feeling the tension ease from his body. "That's it," Nara whispered, her eyes full of warmth. "You're doing well." Adam barely had time to recover before Kiva moved in again, her impatience palpable. "My turn," she declared, pressing against him once more. This time the energy crackled and Adam felt something new, a pull, an insistent need that went beyond mere survival. He gasped, and Kiva's grin turned feral. "Feel that?" she asked, her voice a husky whisper. "That's what happens when you stop holding back." Adam's mind spun, but Nara was there, balancing the chaos. "Kiva, enough," she urged, her tone sharper than usual. "We're not trying to break him." Kiva released Adam, stepping back with a huff. "You're too cautious," she said, though there was no real anger in her voice. She glanced at Adam, her expression softening. "But maybe you're right." Adam's legs nearly gave out, but Nara caught him, guiding him to sit. He looked between the sisters, exhaustion and adrenaline warring within him. "This isn't just a ritual," he said, the realization dawning. "It's a test, isn't it? Of how far we'll go." Kiva's eyes darkened, and for once her bravado slipped. "Yes," she admitted, her voice raw. "And it doesn't care about fairness or mercy. We have to fight for balance, or it will consume us." The chamber's light pulsed, almost as if it agreed, and Adam knew they were running out of time. His body ached, but his spirit burned with resolve. He had come too far to fail now. "Then we fight," he said, his voice unwavering. "Together." Nara's eyes shone with gratitude while Kiva's lips curved into a smile that, for once, held no mischief, only respect. And so, the three of them braced for whatever the chamber would throw at them next, united in a way none of them had anticipated. Adam sat in the center of the chamber, the strange energy that pulsed through the air pressing down on him, both suffocating and invigorating. He struggled to steady his breathing, feeling the conflicting currents of heat and cold coursing through his veins. His whole body felt like a conduit, barely containing the volatile mix of emotions and alien power shared between him and the twins. To his left, Nara knelt with her hands clasped in her lap, her gaze fixed on some unseen point in the distance. Her skin, a deep shade of violet that shimmered in the chamber's phosphorescent glow, looked almost fragile. But her eyes, pools of luminous silver, betrayed the turmoil roiling within her. Adam sensed her fear, an all-encompassing worry that wrapped around her like a suffocating shroud. On his right, Kiva paced, her movements tense and agitated. Her presence was a storm, barely contained, and her hair a wild cascade of starlight hues seemed to shimmer more intensely as her frustration grew. The chamber mirrored her agitation, its walls pulsing with restless light. Her voice sliced through the thick silence. "This waiting is pointless," she spat, throwing a glare at Nara. "We can't just sit here, hoping the chamber will show mercy. We have to act." Nara lifted her head, her expression weary but resolute. "Recklessness won't save us," Kiva, she countered, her voice soft but firm. "The chamber doesn't respond to force. It responds to harmony, to balance." Kiva stopped pacing, fists clenched at her sides. "Harmony," she repeated, her tone laced with disbelief. "How can we achieve balance when everything about this ritual pits us against each other?" Her gaze flickered to Adam, and her eyes, normally full of mischief and fire, held a vulnerability she rarely showed. "We're running out of time, and this place feeds on our disarray." Adam's mind raced, each heartbeat a hammering reminder of their precarious situation. He had understood danger before, face-down missions gone horribly wrong, but this was different. This was a fight not just for survival, but for the very essence of who they were. If they failed, they wouldn't just die, they would become lost fragments, ghosts whispering through the walls of this sentient prison. He took a deep breath, then another, and forced himself to speak. "Maybe we've been thinking about this all wrong," he said, his voice steadier than he felt. Both sisters turned to look at him, surprise flickering across their faces. He pressed on. "This isn't just about keeping the energy in check. Maybe we're supposed to transform it, give it a purpose." Kiva raised an eyebrow, skepticism tightening her features. Transform it into what she challenged. "Hope? Unity? Do you even hear yourself human?" Adam met her gaze, refusing to be cowed. "Yes," he replied. "Hope. Unity. We've been fighting the chamber, fighting each other, and maybe that's exactly what it wants us to do. What if the only way to win is to stop resisting and start guiding the energy together?" Kiva's mouth opened, but no retort came. Instead, she looked away, jaw tight. Adam knew she wasn't used to feeling powerless. Her whole life, she had relied on her strength, her ability to charge headlong into any challenge and come out on top. But this wasn't a challenge that brute force could solve, and that realization was cracking her armor. Nara's eyes widened, a spark of hope igniting in their silver depths. "It makes sense," she whispered. "The chamber feeds on conflict. But if we channel our energy in sync, we could turn it into something healing, something that breaks this cycle." Kiva crossed her arms, her defiance flickering like a candle in the wind. "And if you're wrong," she asked, her voice cracking, betraying the fear she fought so hard to hide. Adam felt the weight of her question, the heaviness of their shared uncertainty. But he also felt something else, a fragile but undeniable connection between the three of them, forged through struggle and desperation. He wasn't ready to give up on that. Not yet. "If I'm wrong," Adam said, a small smile playing at his lips, "then we've tried something different, and at least we'll have done it together." Kiva's gaze lingered on him, her expression a mix of irritation and reluctant admiration. Finally she exhaled, a breath she seemed to have been holding for too long. "Fine," she said, her voice softening. "We'll try it your way." Nara let out a sigh of relief, her whole posture easing. "Then let's begin," she said, shifting to sit directly across from Adam. She extended her hands, palms up, and looked at Kiva, who rolled her eyes but took her place on Adam's other side. The three of them formed a circle, their hands interlocked. Adam felt the warmth of their skin, the strange sensation of alien energy that coursed between them, wrapping around his own like tendrils of starlight. He closed his eyes and focused, drawing in a steadying breath. "Imagine the energy as a river," he said, his voice low. "Not something to be controlled, but something to be guided. Let it flow, but give it direction." Nara's grip tightened, her presence calming, like a lullaby whispered under a starry sky. He felt her essence gentle, nurturing, but with an undercurrent of quiet strength. Kiva's energy, on the other hand, was fire and chaos, a tempest always on the brink of release. But beneath her ferocity, Adam sensed a fierce protectiveness, a heart that yearned for something she could never admit. The chamber reacted immediately, its light dimming and then flaring, testing their resolve. Adam gritted his teeth, refusing to let the surge break their bond. He pictured the energy flowing between them, not as opposing forces, but as complementary threads of the same tapestry. And then, something shifted. The chamber stilled, its pulse synchronizing with their collective heartbeat. A warmth spread through Adam's chest, filling him with a sense of unity he had never experienced before. The barriers between him, Nara, and Kiva began to dissolve, their thoughts and emotions intertwining. Memories surfaced, vivid and raw. Adam saw glimpses of Nara's past, her struggles to keep her gentleness from being crushed by a world that demanded strength. He saw Kiva as a child, wild and untamed, fighting for recognition, for the right to be as fearless as she was fierce. And then they saw him, his memories of Earth, of a life filled with isolation despite the people around him. The endless missions, the search for meaning, the longing for a connection that felt real and unbreakable. Tears stung his eyes, and he knew the twins felt his sorrow, his yearning. "We're stronger than this," Kiva said, her voice unexpectedly soft. "Together." The chamber quaked, testing them one final time. Adam felt the pressure mounting, but this time he didn't push back. He let the energy wash over him, through him, and trusted Nara and Kiva to do the same. They surrendered, not in defeat, but in unity. The light exploded, cascading in every direction, but instead of burning them, it wrapped around them like a cocoon. Adam felt himself lifted, suspended in a golden warmth that hummed with life and promise. He opened his eyes and saw Nara and Kiva smiling, truly smiling for the first time since this ordeal had begun. When the light faded, the chamber was different. The oppressive weight had vanished, replaced by a tranquil stillness. And then, a door appeared, real and solid, etched with symbols that spoke of new beginnings. Kiva let out a shaky laugh. "We did it," she said, almost as if she couldn't believe it. Nara's eyes shone with unshed tears. "We did," she echoed, squeezing Adam's hand. "Together." Adam stood, feeling a newfound strength. They had faced the chamber's challenge not by overpowering it, but by embracing what made them whole. The connection between them was still there, a quiet, reassuring hum that reminded him of what they had shared. "Ready?" Nara asked, her voice full of hope. Adam glanced at Kiva, who rolled her eyes but smiled. "Ready as I'll ever be," she said, her tone full of bravado, but her expression soft. With that, they stepped through the door, into a light that promised freedom, unity, and perhaps something even more extraordinary. The light enveloped them like a wave of warm water, erasing the darkness of the chamber and replacing it with something radiant and vast. Adam blinked, his eyes struggling to adjust. A sweeping landscape unfurled around them, breathtaking and surreal. The ground beneath their feet was soft, blanketed in grass that glowed a gentle silver. Vibrant flora blossomed in shades he couldn't name, and towering crystalline formations jutted from the earth, refracting starlight in dazzling arcs. Above them, a sky more magnificent than any Adam had ever seen stretched endlessly. Galaxies swirled in vibrant purples, blues, and fiery oranges, constellations shifting and dancing in ways that defied the laws of his universe. It felt like standing in the heart of the cosmos, a world woven from the dreams of stars. Nara's eyes went wide, awe etched into every line of her face. "It's beautiful," she whispered, voice trembling. Her hands lifted slightly, as if she wanted to capture the light in her palms. For a moment, the perpetual worry she carried melted away, replaced by pure wonder. Kiva took a few cautious steps forward, her posture defensive despite the serene surroundings. She scanned the horizon, her gaze wary. "Beautiful," she echoed, though her voice carried an edge. "But I'm not buying it. We've been through too much to believe this is over." Adam couldn't blame her. The memory of the chamber, of its relentless tests and hunger, still burned vividly in his mind. He looked down at his hands, half expecting to see energy sparking along his skin, but there was only the dull ache of exhaustion. They had survived somehow, but the question of what came next loomed heavy over them. A sound like a low, resonant hum rolled through the air. Adam turned to find its source and felt his heart seize in his chest. Approaching them was a being of pure, undulating light, its form shifting between shadow and brilliance. Ethereal tendrils rippled from its core, caressing the grass and stirring the crystalline formations. It exuded both beauty and an undeniable sense of power. The being's voice resonated within their very bones, layered with echoes and reverberations. Welcome it intoned, each syllable vibrating through Adam's chest. "You have reached the threshold of creation, where the tested come to be judged." Adam swallowed hard, glancing at Nara and Kiva. Nara's hand instinctively found his, her grip tight with fear. Kiva squared her shoulders, defiance flaring in her eyes. "Judged," Kiva snapped, her voice cutting through the hum. "We've already proven ourselves. What more do you want?" The being tilted its form, as if observing her. "You have proven resilience, unity, and transformation," it acknowledged. "But the question remains, what will you become now that you are free from the chamber's trial?" Adam's pulse throbbed in his ears. The architect, if that was what this being was, didn't radiate the same predatory hunger as the chamber, but its presence was overwhelming. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice steadier than he felt. "What is this place?" The architect's light shifted, and Adam could almost imagine a smile forming in the glimmer. "I am the architect," it said, "the one who shaped the chamber as a crucible, designed to test the bonds between divergent souls. Few pass its trials, for the universe is plagued with division and mistrust." Its tendrils pulsed, an echo of the chamber's heartbeat. "You have achieved harmony, but the choice before you is yet to be made." Kiva's fists clenched. What choice, she demanded? More games, more tests. The architect's presence dimmed, as if considering. "You stand at a crossroads," it said. "Return to your separate worlds, carrying the knowledge of your bond but bound by the limitations of your origins, or embrace the unity you have forged, exploring the cosmos together, your fates entwined, your souls interwoven." Adam's breath caught in his throat. The prospect was both thrilling and terrifying. The idea of going back to Earth, to his solitary life, felt like a shadow compared to the vibrant connection he had found with Nara and Kiva. But the alternative, binding himself to this alien bond, with all its unknowns, felt equally daunting. Nara's voice broke through his thoughts, soft yet resolute. "If we stay together," she asked, her silver eyes brimming with vulnerability, "what does that truly mean?" The architect's light pulsed, a gentle, steady rhythm. "It means you will share your energy, your destinies, and your very essence. You will be stronger together but forever changed. Your connection will deepen, growing beyond what you understand now." Adam met Nara's gaze, seeing the fear and the hope warring in her expression. He turned to Kiva, who stood stiffly, her jaw set. Despite her bravado, a flicker of uncertainty shadowed her eyes. "What do you want?" Adam asked them, his voice low but earnest. "I can't make this choice alone." Kiva's defiance faltered, and for the first time she looked almost lost. "I've always fought to stay in control," she admitted, her voice rough, "to keep my power, my independence. But maybe control isn't what I need." Her eyes softened as she glanced at Adam and Nara. "Maybe I need this. Yes." Nara's tears glistened, but she smiled, a fragile, radiant thing. "I'm afraid of losing myself," she confessed. but I'm more afraid of losing what we found together." Adam's heart clenched, their words echoing his own unspoken fears. But he felt something stronger, a sense of purpose, a feeling of belonging he hadn't known he craved. He took a breath, steadying himself. "Then we choose each other," he said, his voice sure, the weight of doubt lifting. "No matter what comes next." The architect's light flared, enveloping them in a cocoon of warmth. "So be it," it declared. "Your bond shall guide you, and the universe will open before you." The ground beneath them shuddered, and Adam felt the energy surge, wrapping around their intertwined souls. The stars above seemed to swirl faster, their light weaving into a dance of color and fire. Adam closed his eyes, feeling Nara and Kiva beside him, their presence as a steady, grounding force. When the energy settled, they found themselves standing on a platform of shimmering crystal, overlooking a vast, alien ocean. The waves glowed under a sky of shifting constellations, and a breeze, warm and full of the scent of alien flora, brushed over them. Kiva laughed, the sound wild and unrestrained. "We're really here," she said, disbelief giving way to exhilaration. "Together." Nara squeezed Adam's hand, her eyes bright with unshed tears. "We're not bound by the chamber anymore," she said, her voice trembling. "We're free." Adam looked out at the infinite horizon, feeling the weight of their choice settle over him. The fear was still there, but it was tempered by something stronger, hope. The universe stretched before them, full of mystery and danger and beauty, and they would face it side by side. "Ready to explore?" Adam asked, a grin tugging at his lips. Kiva rolled her eyes, but she was smiling. "Only if you can keep up, human." Nara's laughter rang out, melodic and full of life. "We have all the time in the universe," she said, her voice full of promise. Together they stepped forward, their bond a beacon in the vast, uncharted expanse of the cosmos. The architect's light lingered for a moment before dissolving into the starlit air, and with it, the last remnants of the chamber's trials. Their adventure was only beginning, a journey through the stars that would test them, shape them, and reveal the deepest truths of their intertwined souls. And whatever lay ahead, they would face it as one.